ladies and gentlemen, for one of the best sports podcasts in the business. Subscribe on YouTube to Shakey's Sports Journeys.
Hi, and welcome to Shakey's Sports Journeys. Another fantastic cricket episode for you today. What I've done is, this is a special, a Sharjah Cup 97 special, and who better to have the next England captain and all-rounder. I welcome to the show Mr. Adam Hollioake and Douglas Brown.
Hey, Shakey, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. So, Dougie, you're in an interesting location there. You gave me a little sneak peek, so I wouldn't mind a look for all the viewers. Tell us where you are.
Okay, so I'm in the presidential suite here in Zayed Stadium, Abu Dhabi. So you can see in the back. Give you a little walk down and just show you. I think Smokey's probably played it. You played it before, Smokes?
Yes, I don't think I have played there actually. I played there I've got no idea who I played for, but actually I think I played for Australia. I played for Australia in a game where they didn't have enough players, and I had to play against England. So I was like, why would you pick a guy who's actually got Australian background? Yeah, to go and play in that. So I've got a questionable background as it is. Why would you just put like the most English person? Yeah. Anyway, I have played there. Yeah, answer to your question.
Yeah, cool. No, it's good. It's an amazing stadium. Incredible. They're just doing a bit of work to the outfield and stuff. Obviously, it's starting to get quite hot here now, so it's perfect place for somebody with ginger Scottish skin to be in the middle of the desert, 40 odd degrees. But is
that skin not toughened up from the 97 with all that? Although I know we played in the lights, though, didn't we? We played at night time.
I bet that was a relief, Dougie.
I started factor 50 on Shaky.
Well, listen, we've brought you together as you've said there. You're in Abu Dhabi, Dougie. Mr. Hollioake is sitting in Australia, and I'm sitting in sunny Glasgow, Scotland. So the power of technology bringing us all together. We're here today to talk about a competition that both of you guys played in. It was the Sharjah Cup 1997 in Sharjah, UAE, and it involved 4 teams: England, India, Pakistan, and the West Indies. 4 big countries at that time, all strong squads. So what I wanted to ask you was, what was the preparation like for this tournament? I'll come to you first, Skipper.
I don't think we had any, did we, Dougie?
We did. If you remember, we went to Lanzarote, Club La Santa. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. I missed
the whole squad. Did you miss that?
I missed it. I got the last, because remember I had passport issues.
Oh, yeah.
I was still on my Australian passport, and I didn't have a visa to go to Spain, so I missed the first half of it, and I got the last bit. But yeah, we did have preparation, but I mean nothing like what these days preparing for a tournament like that would be like. It was pretty. Once we got out, did we go? I think we went to Pakistan before we. That's right. I'm just coming together now. Yeah, we did have preparations. Forget what I just said.
Yeah. No, we went to Lahore, and we in a couple of games, and then that was in the back of being in Lanzarote, where the whole England squad had been picked for that entire winter series. So it was like under 19s, 18, one-day side test squad, and we were all there in a sort of training camp. It was 4-star hell on earth, really. It was hard. It was a hard 10 days or whatever it was. So you were quite lucky to miss the first 5.
Yeah, I think so. So the thing is, if you're going to ask any in-depth questions, you need to ask Dougie, because I've been punched in the head 10,000 times too many, and I can't remember much. So any in-depth, in-detail questions, you need to get Doug first.
Well, listen, it sounds like a decent prep. You obviously went to conditions that were going to be where you were going to, similar conditions to where you were going to actually play the tournament. Lahore, Pakistan wouldn't be too dissimilar. Selection process, what was that like, Skipper?
Well, we started with a team. Our first game was against India, who I'd say, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. The 2 favourites for the tournament were India and Pakistan, who basically that's their home ground. In those days, they were playing 20, 30, I don't know, 50 one-day internationals a year there. So it was our first time out there. I think some of us had been there with other teams, but it was the first time England had been there as a unit forever. I think since probably like 10 years before that or something like that. And we just picked the team based on not much. I think a couple of warm-up games in Lahore. And then that first game against India was, obviously we knew that was going to be important. And when we won it, we just keep picking the winning team. So it was as simple as the winning team stays on the table, doesn't it? So we just had the same team. Unfortunately, Peter Martin, my brother, and Ashley Giles, who made up the squad of 14, they didn't play the whole tournament, and that's just, unfortunately, it's not participation sport. You're playing for your country, so we just had to pick the side that was winning.
Let's go through your squad a little bit. So you were skipper. I'm just going to name the squad, and then we can have a chat about some of them. You had Ali Brown, who's obviously Surrey opening batsman. Dougie Brown, who was on his first England trip, and you gave him his debut skipper, which was nice. So I'm sure Dougie has fond memories of that. You had Robert Croft, off spinner, Mark Ealham, the all rounder, Matthew Fleming, Ashley Giles, Dean Headley, Graeme Hick, what a player, the late Ben Hollioake, Nick Knight, very talented left-handed opening batsman, Peter Martin, Lancashire, Alec Stewart, and Graeme Thorpe. Looking at it on paper, it seems like there was a lot of all-rounders in there. There was a few players obviously that probably could have been in the mix as well. I looked at the other squads, star-studded squads. Dougie, what was your general feeling going into it? You were majorly tipped as underdogs. People were not expecting you to do anything.
Yeah, well, obviously you're going in there personally. You're going in there as a sort of a complete newbie into the England setup, and you're hoping that you get an opportunity to play. And if you do play, then you put in a performance that sort of allows it to stack up at that level. I didn't really, and like many of us, I didn't really think too much about any outcome. All I wanted to do was just go and play. And I think the amazing thing about that team was it's probably much like a Warwickshire team that I sort of played in. There was some great players in this team, as there was a Warwickshire team that I played in, but actually it was a sum of the parts actually punched much harder than what really they should have done. And I think we got very quickly into a really nice sort of a really nice style of play. And again, the management, Smokey was Adam, Smokey, whatever you want to call him, was awesome at that as well. But I mean, it was great from David Graveney as well. The senior players, that it just allowed everybody to sort of come together and actually go and play the way they wanted to play, the way they played for the county sides. And actually, people recognise what strengths individuals had, maybe, and then you as individuals recognise that you also had weaknesses as well. And we got a really nice blend of all the best parts of the side coming together at the right time. Again, expectation-wise, I don't think any of us really expected that much. I'm looking forward to playing and being part of an England side, which is what you dream of. The top of your international game. If it looks like that, that's what it is. And that was just amazing. Just running with every single game and just trying to give the best you got.
Don't forget, your dream should have been playing for Scotland, Dougie.
Oh, no, it was. This was my second dream. This was my second dream. Okay,
second dream. Okay, that's fair enough. Just reminding you, Douglas, that you're a Scotsman at heart. Adam, you as captain, I've already spoke to you about this a little bit on our solo podcast. What was your clear message to the boys? I got the impression that you just were a guy that just wanted people to express themselves.
It sounds so cliche, doesn't it, Shaky? It's but what I think Dougie's really summed it up. You can tell he's stayed in cricket his whole career, and he's now got a high profile job in cricket.
I don't know about that.
He's obviously. I think his ability to probably pick out the key reasons for the success. I think it was pretty eloquently put, because that's sounding pretty arrogant because he gave me a bit of a plug there, but I think this is contradictory, because I think that cricket now is far transcended where we were. But I think one of the things which was, I think back to, and times that I were involved with England after that, I feel that sometimes there were too many people, too many cooks, and not enough. Well, too many Indians and not enough chiefs. You know what I mean? So the other, too many chiefs and not enough Indians. I think that one. I think we had our support staff was Bumble, Wayne Morton, the physio, David Graveney, the manager, Brian Murgatroyd, the press liaison officer, and David Lloyd, the coach. That was it. There was no mass. And David Lloyd went down sick, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
So we had Wayne Morton out there hitting the catches, the physio hitting the catches. We had Grav kind of half taking the roles, and a lot of it was left to us as players to kind of work it out ourselves. And I think my style of captaincy, albeit, I think if you ask people from the outside, what was Adam Hollioake like as a captain, they think I was because of my love of fighting, they think I was some sort of guy who stood up and dictated to the team. I don't know, Dougie might disagree with this, but I think it was the opposite. I think I asked everyone their opinions and let them come up with a plan. I'm not taking credit for the plan. The plan was devised by the team, and I was just the figurehead who happened to get to toss the coin and speak to the cameras afterwards. So I think that was the strength of our side. It was an amazing group of individuals who were outstanding problem solvers. So we had the problem of facing two of the best subcontinent sides in the world. And also, this is one thing which I often mention when I talk about Sharjah, is these guys, I mean, we'd seen Tendulkar play 100 times on TV. We'd seen Wasim Akram play 100 times on TV. Shahid Afridi. We'd seen these guys. Ijaz Ahmed, like Syed Anwar. They were all, like you said, megastars. With all due respect to them, they didn't even know who Adam Hollioake was, let alone the captain. I played five one day because I was the captain of England. Dougie, they didn't know. They didn't
know the Scotsman.
Nah.
Flying Scotsman.
Mark Ealham, Matthew Fleming. Not a clue. So I don't even think if they'd walked past us, they would have thought we were the dressing room attendants. So they'd have had no idea who we were, what we did. And we played them in one-off games, and we hit them with a tactic, and before they knew it, they'd lost. And then there was no coming back. Fortunately, I think Dougie will agree with that. West Indies were probably the weaker side in that tournament. So, they must have happened to get I don't even know how they ended up in there, but I think Pakistan and India beat each other once, and the West Indies must have beaten one of them, and we beat everybody. So we just us two happened to sneak into the final, which for the promoters of the tournament must have been a disaster. I think we played in front of 5 people.
Maybe 4.
Yeah.
Let's get into the tournament then. So, Dougie, big debut, mate. England against India. You're going to be coming up against arguably the best player of your era as a batsman. How are you feeling going into the game? Where you said you were desperate to be playing, so you couldn't ask for a better start. Skipper and coach gave you the confidence.
Yeah, I mean, most people say you're nervous before you go and play, and I suppose there was an element of nerves, but actually they were really minimal, because what we had done, we'd built up this team, and almost we were encouraged just to do what we did. There was nothing else expected of us other than just what we did, and we're, despite what Smokey can't remember, I thought our preparation was pretty good in Pakistan, playing against some pretty good players in their conditions, and we'd done really well against them as well. So, and I'd done quite well personally in these warm-up games and stuff. So I wasn't actually that that's sort of nervous about going into that first game. Obviously, you know, you want to try and put in a performance, and obviously bowling to the guys you're bowling to can be quite intimidating. You know, it wasn't, if I'm honest, it wasn't personally the best debut anybody can ever have. I didn't bowl particularly well. You know, I didn't get any runs, but we were part of a winning team, and that was really important. You know, but to get an opportunity to go on and play at that level, you know, albeit clearly Scotland is a much higher level than England, but you know, just taking a step back for a moment and playing for England was pretty special. But you know, to get a win, especially the way we won, because it's, I don't know if Adam can remember, it was the game was in the balance all the way through. Tendulkar had batted amazingly.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Tendulkar,
and then Matthew Fleming. Oh, amazing! You know, he had played. You know, it looked like he was playing with one of these middling bats. You know, the thin bats you get. Yeah. He just didn't miss the middle of the bat, and then all of a sudden he left his crease when the game was in the balance, and to Matthew Fleming and got stumped, which was kind of bizarre. But you know, it allowed us an in at the back end of the game, and you know, Adam and the guys finished the game off brilliantly, and we ended up winning. I can't even remember the margin. It was about 7 runs or something.
You boys batted first. You scored 250. Alec Stewart scored 116, and then India chased. They ended up on 243 with Tendulkar 91. So that stumping probably wins you the game.
Yeah,
oh, for sure. Yeah, and for sure.
Skipper, you must have been a bit nervous when Tendulkar was going.
It's a weird thing. I don't know about you, Doug, but I don't remember being particularly nervous at any stage throughout the tournament. Now, I don't think that's, and I think you alluded to that before, considering it's your one-day international debut. I just think because we had such little support stuff, and the other thing we haven't even touched on here was the press weren't following. Remember, there was no TV being beamed back into England.
Yeah.
It just felt like, it never felt like big games.
It was like a bunch of mates playing in a park. That's what it's like. Taking on big teams, but we didn't care.
Yes, and I felt like they were playing with the weight of their nation on the shoulders. Ours wasn't being beamed back to ours, and it's like we just a bunch of guys who just got on. I mean, if you'd put together a team of guys just to hang out and have fun, you wouldn't have gone far wrong. Like just for guys to just go away for a weekend, you'd have done pretty well. Everybody go, oh, be happy with the way everybody got on. It was pretty amazing. Like Doug, I remember we were singing songs on the way to the ground. We were like bloody football fans. We were singing that the Proclaimers, wasn't it? Was that bloody Proclaimers? We were singing that. I was like, bloody Dougie's got to sing in this Scottish song, like the 500 miles. He'd get up and do his solo, and people were just. And I think one thing, you know, like no one expected us to do well, including ourselves. So therefore, that's one of the biggest pressures is usually the expectation you've got on yourself. So we just go out there. And I remember the sort of theme of when I talked to the team was, and I don't think this was particularly because I was an amazing like psychologist or anything. I was just like, let's just do what we do, and everyone just do what they normally do for the county. Let's bowl, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, no one's expecting us to do well anyway. So, and I think that was the angle we came from, and it just kind of just gathered momentum, didn't it, Doug? Just as we went through.
Yeah, and I think as an inexperienced player, international player, making his way sort of at that level of the game, I mean, it took any fear of failure off the table for me. You know, myself and Matthew Fleming, we actually spoke about that. Said that there's no fear of failure at all. And again, you know, massive credit to you for doing that and for allowing people to go and express themselves. That said, we knew that we had an incredible spine of a side, even though there was a lot of inexperience in this side. The spine of the side, you know, like Stewie, phenomenal player, you know, either Ali Brown or Nick Knight would always get us off to a start. You know, Ealham would always bowl brilliantly through the middle. You know, Thorpe would always score his runs. You know, Dean Headley bowled brilliantly well all the way through the tournament. So we knew that there was always performance in there, and everybody else who was slightly inexperienced at that level could just be encouraged to go and have the day. And all of us at some stage had a pretty decent game. And I think the amazing thing about that tournament, there wasn't one person that absolutely stood out as the main performer. Everybody contributed towards match-winning performances, whether it was a wicket at the right time, a catch at the right time, a run out, whatever it was, somebody always pulled something out of the hat from somewhere to allow us to get ourselves across the line. I think that, for me, was the one thing that stood this team apart from a number of other teams that I've been involved in.
Sounds like you were just one big happy family. You know, you were just enjoying each other's company, which a happy player probably makes you, you know, when you're in a good headspace, you're probably going to play your best cricket. So you get the first win out the way. Like you're saying, and both of you have said, you didn't really look back. You go into the West Indies game next. So I'll read the scores out to you just so you can refresh your memory. West Indies scored 197, which is obviously a bit of a dangling carrot. And you boys got over the line. Carl Hooper, what a player, scored 100. Dougie Brown returns figures of 2 for 28. Well bowled, sir. And Graeme Thorpe hit 57 in the run chase. Talk to me about the game.
Well, that's just one thing I do remember about the tournament. This is one of my most vivid memories. This is one of the games when Bumble actually had something to say at a team meeting, because I think he'd been sick. I'm not sure if he became sick after this or this, but I remember him saying we'd been, oh, actually, no, that might have been when we were on the tour to the West Indies. He talked about Philo Wallace. And Philo Wallace, he's the whole batsman. He said the big opening batsman who could whack it. He said, you just run up and you bowl at the stumps and you bowl him out. And that's like, we were like, well, I said, that sounds pretty easy. And then Doug came up, first ball, was it in the first over, and just bowled him out. It was exactly what we said. And then, so this is the, and then that was just bowled it. So he got a wicket in his first, was it the second ball of the game or third ball?
First ball.
First ball, just ran up, bowled it. And it was literally, when Bumble said it in the team meeting, we were just like laughing as typical Bumble. And then Doug just ran up, bowled at the stump, and it bowled him out. And then I think Lara was out in the first over as well, wasn't he? Or was in the third over?
Yeah, first over.
First over
none for two, yeah.
None for two. So, and then from there, I think they just never recovered. I mean, Hooper scored 100, but he was always trying to hold the innings together. And with the way all our bowling attack, I mean, the attack was Headley and Brown would bowl hard and fast at the stumps early on. And then we just took the pace off with Hollioake, Ealham, Croft in the middle overs with Matthew Fleming as well. We all just did the same thing. Just tried to get the ball soft, bowled it straight, mixed our pace up, didn't deviate from the plan. And we just basically said, over to you guys. And when Doug gets you off to start, Lara and Philo Wallace, who probably their two most dangerous, as in big hitting batsmen, are out the way early on, they were always trying to get back in the game. And it only got harder as the innings went on out there. So the best time to bat was against the new ball, and then it would just get harder and harder and harder. So when you get off to a start like that, and I think that's probably why they only got 197. So
pretty much a match-winning over, Dougie. Like
it was,
you know, if you get those 2 wickets, that's a job very much nearly in the bag.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing start, isn't it? You know, none for two after the first over. You know, after a sort of a winning debut, but a disappointing one personally, I guess. You know, to get a wicket straight away was awesome. You know, ran up, tried to swing it away, it just nipped back. Like, I don't know why, but hit the top of the stumps, caught Philo Wallace on the crease, and then Lara came out to bat. The first ball, again, same ball really, but just a left-hander. It was nipped across him, and he played and missed. And next ball, that I was trying to do to the third ball what I was trying to do to the first 2 balls, and it did actually swing the way it was meant to swing, and it just hit him in front. So, yeah, I'm a dream start. I'm obviously 2 massive players for them. They'd be looking to these guys to get them off the start, which is kind of indicative of how they played their cricket over that period of time. You know, they went hard up front. They'd hoped to get a start with the 2 opening batters, and then Lara came on and took the game by the scruff of the neck. But, you know, Hooper, as well as he played, as Adam said, you know, he'd never really managed to get away from us at any stage, because he was always trying to hold it together and trying to set up the back end. And these guys bowled magnificently when the ball was a little bit softer, pace off, and, you know, Stewie up to the stumps and a fairly straight field. And it was hard work for these guys, because you couldn't just hit it over the boundaries. You know, although Sharjah is quite a small ground, once the shine goes off the new ball, it's actually a bit sticky. And so you have to hit it over the fielder's head. But if you've got wickets, you can't afford to take these options. And I think it, obviously served us pretty well moving forwards towards the back end of that game.
Thorpe, 57, not a bad player, Graeme Thorpe. Good guy to have in a run chase.
He's I still think he's one of England's greatest middle order batsmen in one-day cricket. I mean, of any cricket, but in one-day cricket, his ability to manipulate spin was certainly something that me or most of the other guys in the side weren't able to do through the 90s. To be able to sit back, play off the back foot, knock the ball square of the wicket. I think that's what he was 20 years ahead of his time, because they're only doing that now. Whereas I'd come out there, I'd be charging down the wicket, trying to whack it up to long on, long off for a single, and then hitting the fielders 2 or 3 times and over and not going anywhere. Whereas Thorpe was able to sit back, lay the ball off square of the wicket, and just maneuver the field. And that was, especially in those conditions, like Doug mentioned, with the ball being a bit tackier, a bit softer, trying to whack the ball down to long on, long off, which I'd done my whole career in England. It was just, you needed to change a plan, and he was the man to hold most of our innings in that sort of thing together. We all sort of worked around him. So he was a maestro, really. And although he never scored the big 100, I think in the final he got us across the line, but he was key. And I think when I captained England and he was playing, when he wasn't playing, I felt like I was constantly looking for the player to be able to fulfill that role, and we never really could.
He was awesome as well, which English players weren't always naturally suited to. Thorpe was very good at playing spin. You going to say something, Dougie?
Yeah, just saying that again. He was amazing. Adam would have seen a lot more of him play domestically than I did, because the teammates at Surrey. But the one thing about Thorpe is as good as he was at manipulating, getting singles, he also had boundary options in him as well. So you couldn't stop that single, because if you brought a man in and filled a gap, he'd just hit it over the head, or he'd hit it to where they've just brought the man from. So he had that confidence in his own ability to hit boundaries. He wasn't going to bludgeon sixes like some of the other guys in the squad, like Adam or some of the other guys. But actually, with regards to just being smart, actually a little bit like how Kane Williamson bats these days. He gets strikes straight away, and then when he needs to hit a boundary, he can do it easily. And you look at his strike rate at the end of the game. I know strike rates have changed over the last 10 years or so, but you look at Thorpe's strike rate relative to the best players in the world at that time, and he was comparable with every single one of them. And you wouldn't have said that he was somebody, you wouldn't say he was that type of player, but actually the way he performed was exactly of that type of player. He was a power batter. He was an older style power batter, just because he rotated strike whenever he wanted and hit the boundary as and when the game required. Amazing figure.
I agree. Fantastic batsman across all formats. I think he would have been pretty handy at T20 as well. Maybe not with the sixes, but there's like you say, he manoeuvres the field very well. 2 out of 2. Quietly now, maybe starting to think, we might be able to do something here. The next game, I wouldn't have been supporting you in any shape or form, because you were going in to play against Pakistan. You batted first, left a bit of a dangling carrot yourselves. 215. Not, 250, I would say back then was a big score. Would you agree? Like now it's 330 plus, but 250 was the benchmark back then. So how are you feeling? Batting wise, I didn't actually jot down who scored runs in that game. Do you remember? Or was it again, everybody chipped in?
Oh, I can't remember. Can you remember who scored runs?
I think the fact that we can't remember probably just suggests that it was another chip-in performance. I think that was pretty much. I remember Stewie getting 100 in the first game and Thorpe getting a couple of scores, but other than that, the whole tournament was just people chipping in with runs. That's the year. It was 100 for Stewie in the first game, and then I think Thorpe scored a 50 in that second game and a 50 in the final. And after that, you there's just people getting 20s and 30s and just helping one another out and putting little partnerships together. So I don't remember any particular partnership in that game.
Nah.
I mean, what did we score? 200.
2-1-15. The other thing is, I'm assuming out of the three, this was the strongest bowling attack you would have come up against.
Yeah, the Pakistan bowling attacks always. I don't know about you, Doug, but I was like, they always had like fast bowlers or guys who were spinning in a direction that I didn't know which way it was. So I was like I didn't mind playing against, the good medium fast. We had guys who were either bowling thunderbolts and blowing your feet off, or putting one in your ear, or blowing your toe off, or then they were running up bowling doosaras and things which I'd never even heard of. So it was like the Pakistan attack was always, if our attack was consistent and reliable and accurate and bowled to a plan, their attack wasn't, but it was like fast, reverse swinging, spinning both directions. It was like they had their game plan. I mean, if I'd been captain, my game plan would be completely different with that bowling attack than if I had Dean Headley, Dougie Brown, Mark Ealham, Adam Hollioake, and Matthew Fleming. It's with all due respect, these guys are fantastic cricketers, but those Pakistanis were, oh God. I mean, if our team meetings were, if I had the concentration to make them last as long as they should have gone on for 2 hours, because you're trying to like work out what they're doing, and it was a incredible bunch of individuals, and that's what they were, a bunch of individuals.
And also as well, you remember Sharjah, it's got a very small square, so you're only using 2 pitches. So game on game, the pitches are getting a little bit more tired. They maybe don't deteriorate like they do in the UK, but they're certainly getting more tired. You've got the likes of Wasim Akram, who, relishes these conditions, getting the ball reverse swing, and a genius of reverse swing and angles and lengths, and then Saclane, who spins it both ways like a top at will. The rest of their attack was it was phenomenal, really. In conditions that absolutely suited them down to the ground. It certainly suited them much more than it suited us. So I guess to get across the line in that game was a hell of a hell of a performance from us.
Well, they didn't clearly know what hit them, because they got rolled for 207. You came to the party, skipper, 2 for 35, nibbling them away, your little slow balls, those Yorkers you get in, even seeing you bowled a bouncer at Michael Bevan. You had it all, mate. But you're bowling at some decent players. Syed Anwar got 54. What a player for them. But was it just a matter of sticking in for that second innings, just keep plugging away?
I think it was just that. I think it was. I'm flattered by your words to describe my bowling, mate. But I that's not how I describe it. I describe it as like a confident club cricketer. I was my bowling was literally like, if you saw me bowl. I mean, I play against my mates in the backyard, and they'd be like, I don't know how you managed to. How are you playing international cricket bowling? I'm like, I don't know. It's I said that I think the difference is, and Dougie had a bit of pace and a bit of bounce and had a good action and stuff like that, but I didn't have any of that. But the thing we both of us had in common, and I've sort of thought about this in retirement. I've had time to think about it. My mates would be like, "You're just a club cricketer. How did you play international cricket?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I am. I'm just a club cricketer. But let's put 20,000 people in here. Let's put the world's media there and a television camera, and let's play for some money, and then we'll see how we go." So I think Dougie was a very similar cricketer to that as well. Like, he put a bit of pressure, and those guys on that tour were all very similar. Matthew Fleming, like, wow, Dougie, Dean Headley, Mark Ealham, these guys are just, they're not rock star kind of guys who, they never had the Kevin Peterson skunk haircut, or they didn't have fancy tattoos, but these guys are tough. They like turn up, and they didn't get phased by playing the best players in the world. No, they didn't. Like, I don't care who you are. They just came out and they played, and they did what they do day in, day out for Kent, Warwickshire, and they're tough guys. So
the funny thing, I suppose the funny thing about this, I remember speaking to Ealham about this, and Ealham, Mark Ealham was always somebody who was always like, after the event, also, I just hit Wazimakam for 4 or whatever it was, or he's played an amazing shot or bowled an absolute beauty to get rid of somebody. And he like talk himself down after the event, so plays it all down. But in that moment, right, he's the strongest guy you want on the field. You just know 100%. That you've got performance. It's amazing, absolutely incredible. But away from the performance element of it, he just plays it all down, doesn't get too carried away. And I think the one thing about that whole side was exactly that. Nobody got carried away with
humble, very humble. The impression I'm getting here is very, very humble, feet in the ground, enjoying each other's company, and just like you said at the start, a bunch of mates coming together for a tour and just playing bloody good cricket on the pitch. That made you 3 from 3. And then the very unexpected final. So Pakistan and India are done. Their tournament's over, tipped probably one of those two to win it. And here you have West Indies and the no hope England team that nobody gave a hope to, no media, nothing, no interest. And here you are in the final. Did you get a few phone calls from any media at that point, Skipper?
We were having too much fun winding the media up. I think this is sort of give you an insight into how relaxed these guys were under pressure. Was I'd go up to speak to the world's media after, well, when I say the world's media, the English media weren't there. So I'd go up and speak to all the Asian contingency or the other media from around the world. I'd go and speak to them, and these idiots would give me a word to get into my after-match speech. So, and I know you would think of me like they might give me something like off-cutter or
rhinoceros.
Yeah, it'd be like they get the word rhinoceros in there. I'm like, how the hell do you get rhinoceros into an after-game speech? So, and then it was like, oh, well, I said, you got to give me something more cricket-related. So then they're like, sore balls. I'm like, you can't put, this is like PG. This is meant to be put PG. So I'm like, it's so the whole thing sort of took on. We were like a bunch of club cricketers, and we kind of just, I think we played up to that a little bit, and we just literally played it like we were going and playing for our clubs, and took the pressure out of it and just went along with it. And somehow or other, like Doug said, the momentum started, and it didn't seem like it was going to stop, did it, Doug? It felt like we wanted the tournament to go on. So,
yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah. I reckon at that stage we could have played against anybody. You could have brought a whole bunch of special, bring any of the teams, any of the world sides, and I reckon we can give them a decent game, a decent run for the money.
Well, we would believe we would
have. It wouldn't matter, because again, that's the thing. Whether we would or wouldn't, but to be fair, you can only beat who you're up against, and beating the likes of Pakistan and India in the backyard, I think that's testament to the type of cricket we were playing.
Dougie, you started the tournament. Sorry, Adam.
And let's not forget, we haven't even mentioned that we left some of our best players behind. Like Goffey didn't come, Caddick didn't come, Atherton didn't come. I'm not saying that in those conditions. I mean, Goffey would have been good in those conditions, but
amazing.
But that wasn't our normal one-day side. These guys didn't come not because they weren't picked. They just said, "Oh, we're not going. We're just going to have a rest." We just played. We played the Ashes, didn't we? So we just played 6 Test matches against Australia and 3 one-day internationals. So it was a really hard summer. And then we had to go, I think a month after getting back from Sharjah, we had to then go and do 5 Test matches and 5 one-day internationals in the West Indies. So it was, these guys just said, we're not going. Well, we're not going. You just got rested. It was a modern day, right? It was the beginning of sort of from rotation. So people forget that wasn't even our best side. So, I mean, as it happened, I wouldn't have changed any of the players that we had there. But before we left, the psychology is that wasn't our best side that we had available.
Hence why media, etc., probably just
didn't
thought,
go.
Well, they're going to get pumped, and we don't really want to be part of it. But I bet a few of them regret that over the years. So, Dougie, you started the tournament as a debutant. You would never have probably pictured or visualised at that point. Maybe you did, but by the sounds of talking to you guys, you didn't have big expectations. You just wanted to do what you could on the day and see how things went. You're now playing in a final of the Sharjah Cup against West Indies. How are you feeling going into the game?
Again, full of confidence, I suppose, because why wouldn't we? You know, we've just won these matches, 3 matches. We're on a roll. We're playing against a team that we've already beaten, and you know, what is it to fear? Everybody's playing good cricket. Went into the game. I think we bowled first. I remember opening the bowling
first. West Indies 2, 3, 5 for 7.
Yeah,
I do. Ball 76.
I do remember running in and bowling, and I think it was Stewart Williams just kept pumping me over my head. I was like, "What's going on here? This isn't going the way it was supposed to go." I think I bowled 5 overs for 30 odd, and I didn't really bowl badly. They would just kept whacking it. It's just, you know, it's the wrong length. The same in the Pakistan game. You know, I'd bowled the ball into Syed Anwar, who was a gun player, and I bowled 5 balls, top of the stumps, hit the splice. I remember after the 5th one, Syed Anwar just nodded his head. And the next ball went straight over my head, straight over the sight screen, straight into the stand. And I was like, okay, you've got to remind yourself that you're playing international cricket against guys who are you know, serious players. And I think, you know, had that been now, you'd probably change what you bowl. But it was kind of, you know, you bowl on top of the stumps, you're doing what, it's just not working. Like, you know, no idea about bowling an angle or a slow ball or changing your field. You know, we probably weren't quite, we were probably there in the middle of us. But up front, I probably wasn't there at that stage. But it was, yeah, I mean, going into the game, we're full of confidence, and just unfortunate for me that I didn't quite manage to come away from the final having covered myself in glory. But we won the tournament, which is the main thing.
So I'm right. Yeah, sorry, mate.
So the thing is, though, like Doug's saying there, like, oh, you know, I didn't cover myself in the final. It's like, wait, 5 overs. And I'm not here to try and say you did. Since it's probably not your best game in that tournament. But the one thing that I stand by in this whole particular tournament was when people had, like we said, no one, you know, like Alec scored 100 and there was a couple of other 50s and then everyone else just chipped in. So there wasn't any like no bowler took 5 for 30 either, like throughout so there was just good performance. You know, Dougie 2 for the, you know, here and 2 there. I got 2 there and blah, blah, blah. People just chipping in. But more importantly, there was no bad performance. You go through that every 4 games that we played, no one bowled 7 overs for 60. It was like people just, if they went, I mean, he's saying I did badly. We said the best time to bat was up front, and he's bowled 5 overs for what, 34. It's still, it's like, it's not disastrous. What I'm saying, and you bowled those at the time when we knew that was going to be the hardest time to bowl. So it's okay. It's not Mr. Dougie Brown. I'm getting 2 wickets in my first over. Like, you know, it's not, you know, that stuff. But it's what I'm saying is you haven't got a.
Oh, it's good.
It's not
thanks, mate.
It's not a disaster. It's like 5 overs of 35, but you know, you feel like you haven't done. But it's still, we knew it was getting harder as it went along. So as long as someone didn't bowl 4 overs for 60 or something like that, we knew we would drag it back. So we, you know, like Dino had the games when he didn't, you know, didn't kill it either. So it was just the hardest time to bowl. So I think everyone appreciated the job that those guys did up front for us.
You know, you mentioned it at the start, both of you. It was a tournament where somebody every game put their hand up. You look at it, there was no 1 or 2 people that you're like, well, they won England that tournament. It was a total squad and team effort, clear to see. You go into the chase. Thorpe comes to the party again. Potentially, yeah, he was a standout player. He played two important knocks against the Windies. Obviously, in a final, to turn up is always going to help. But there wasn't an easy chase. I mean, a final to chase 2, 3, 5 must have been some squeaky bums as you went out to chase that.
Yeah, I thought we'd done. I hold my hands up. I thought we were gone at one stage. I got out, and we still had a long way to go. And then I think Thorpe and Jazza, I think, got us across the line. Yeah,
I think we needed about 75 of 10 overs, and
which was bloody hard.
At that stage,
I mean, that doesn't now 75 of 10 these days is probably a cakewalk. But then 75 of 10, big boundaries, sticky ball. Wicket. Yeah. Don't forget we used 1 ball in those days. So we had 1 ball that was soft, the same colour as the wicket. They had like Hooper just bowling into. It was hard work. It was real. And I'll be honest. I thought I'm usually always optimistic. I think we're struggling here. We're against it, and I think that was that. What was that guy's name, Dougie? That leggy Raul Lewis. He started bowling noes, didn't he? Or someone started bowling, but then we started like. I mean, this is literally the ultimate club cricketers that we were. I remember I started shouting shit out onto the pitch like a clubby, like bring him on at both ends, and just like shouting stuff out. There's only 20 people in the crowd, so it's echoing around the ground, and we were just literally like just guys out there, and people. We started laughing, and then people are like shouting out. We're cheering as Thorpe and Jazza start getting. And then he's bowled another no, and then they started throwing overthrows, didn't they?
Yeah.
They started doing, and their wheels
came off.
Mate,
I remember.
The wheels were off, mate. The gas was in the choking big time.
I remember though. I remember sitting waiting to bat. So I was batting after Jazz. I think Jazz batted 7. I was batting 8.
Who's Jazz? Sorry, I don't know this.
Matthew Fleming.
Matthew Fleming. Okay.
Matthew. Yeah. Sorry. So Fleming was batting 7, and he came in and got together with Thorpe. And I remember sitting, thinking, right, come on, like just get across the line here. But if we lose a wicket, we've still got this. And I know when it's funny when you're out, it's almost like, well, you probably think actually we're not going to. But that was the confidence that we had in the side, because I'd still back myself to go out there and to play in some kind of a little innings, a little cameo to get 20 or 25 to get us across the line in a partnership. And I think at that stage, Thorpe was playing unbelievably well. So as much as we said he was amazing at strike rotation, he just came to the party, making angles, like thumping it over extra cover, over square legs, scooping it and all sorts. And then Matthew Fleming was just carving it to all parts. And he I don't know how many Jazz got. He probably got 30 odd off about 17 or 18 balls. And just, he was a perfect foil for Thorpe in that partnership, which, as we all know, it was a bloody tough chase. 70 odd of 10 with a soft ball.
When I'm saying I thought we were gone, I'm not saying that because I didn't back any of the people on our side. And you're right. No. When you're out, you're right when you say when you're out. Like literally, I don't know. There's something wrong with me. I think I was deprived of oxygen at birth. But every time I got out in a game, I just thought that's it. We're going to lose. Like. It was like, you're right. It's true. Because there's nothing you can do. It's out of your hands. But exactly. And it's nothing. We still had Dougie. Who else did we have to come? We still had, do we have Ealham?
No, Crofty. Ealham was out. Crofty. Yeah. There was myself, Crofty.
So we still had guys who could hold a bat. So it wasn't like they were like, wasn't like Crofty's no mug. Crofty can bat.
I think that, the point I was making, the Smokes, is the fact that like that confidence, it's sort of the confidence was all the way through the tournament. It started off well. You get on a roll, and actually, irrespective of how experienced or inexperienced you are as an international player, you still believe that you were going to do something, because that was the nature of the tournament. Somebody always stood up and did something that maybe wasn't expected, or maybe wasn't what they used to doing, but somebody did it. And I think that was that's the point I'm making. It's more about the fact that there was still this amazing amount of belief, even in a position that ordinarily you probably wouldn't expect to get across the line. And then all of a sudden, just the pressure just completely flipped on its head. And all of a sudden, West Indies were the ones who are just absolutely, just couldn't do anything right. And we just on this amazing roll. And again, that team spirit came again when all of us were just sort of clapping and shouting and all that sort of stuff. And I think it showed you just exactly where we were at as a bunch of individuals, or as a group of men coming together just for one cause. The only thing that was important was winning the game. It didn't matter who did it or when they did it. It was just the fact that was what we're there to do.
And it's the fear of failure that my England career was. I saw it too many times from our perspective, where guys in our side just choked under the pressure, because the other sides, I always felt like the other sides weren't under the same microscope that we were. And at that moment in that tournament out there, it was just nice for once to be in a side where I looked at the other sides and thought, these guys are putting more pressure on themselves than we are. And for most England sides, every England other side I've been out with to play in, we put more pressure on ourselves than than the opposition. Like every time we played Australia, it always felt like we're all playing for our careers, and those guys are just out there having a game with their mates. So it was so nice to, for once at international cricket, be just sitting there going, I'm just playing a game of cricket with my mates, and I'm laughing at the fact these guys on the other side we're playing against, they're playing for their careers. Look at us, we're just a bunch of clubbies, and we're just like, it was just a really unique. I never experienced that again in my time playing for England. So it was like a really unique, and it was a nice to go through my career. And when I look back on it, that's the one time when I go, wow, if we could play every time you played for your country, you could have guys around you who played with that freedom, you'd win a hell of a lot of games.
I agree.
It was, I remember the tournament well, hence why I wanted to bring it together, because I could remember the whole thing leading into it. You know, you were not expected to do anything. I could tell that when I got both of you on this podcast, you would be talking a lot about the team morale, because it does strike me, looking in from the outside, there's just a bunch of guys who are loving each other's company, you know, all prepared to fight for the cause. And, you know, that's a good recipe for success. You win the Sharjah Cup, 1997. You know, did you come home to a hero's welcome? Was it a rooftop bus?
Nah.
I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Before we got home, it was hilarious because we were leaving, and I'm sure Adam probably doesn't remember this, but I'll tell you why he doesn't remember it. We were leaving at like 4 a.m, and then David Graeme, the manager, was like, okay, your bag's got to be downstairs, you're going to be packed up, we're leaving, you know, we're leaving it as late as we can to leave. And everybody's downstairs, like really worse for wear, because we haven't slept, and we've obviously gone and celebrated the night, and but everybody was packed. Well, there's no captain. So where is the captain? Like, okay, somebody's got to go knock on his door. He's in his room. I'm not sure if he had any clothes on, but he's lying in his bed, like absolutely. All his clothes were still like just as they were, before he went to the game, packed up. And then we eventually got him. We got him packed up and on the bus, and we get to the old Sharjah airport, and we're all a bit worse for wear, and we're checked in, and the next thing we see Adam going, you know, that where you put your luggage on the carousel when you check it in. we see him coming in and going around, going out again, coming in amongst all these bags. He had fallen asleep on the carousel.
Oh my God.
In and out of the carousel, just about to be dumped onto the aircraft.
Skipper, any comments?
No, that's true. I'm thinking one of the few England captains that's seen the other side of the baggage carousel at Dubai. So but it's amazing that, you know, I unfortunately have bumped into Dougie many times since I left cricket, and he's gone off doing his coaching jobs all around the world, and I bump it. But the funny thing is, when we never talk about the cricket. There's like, remember when we talk about stuff that happened off? Remember Mark Ealham? He grabbed Matthew Fleming was sitting there reading his book, and there was always a little bit of tension between Jazza and Mark Ealham, as in good banter, but they're always just at each other. Matthew Fleming's reading his book on the sun lounger by the pool, and Mark Ealham just picked up his the one end of his sun lounger and wheeled him into the pool. Jazza just sort of went blob, 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 carried on reading his book as he went down. So everyone just like, I thought that was hilarious. And then Matthew Fleming is probably one of the greatest tourists of all time, because, you know, if that was me, if someone did something to me, I'm getting out the pool and I'm trying to get him back in the next half an hour. Well, Matthew Fleming's on another level intellectually. He goes and finds out what room Mark Ealham's in. He goes, gets into the room, gets Mark Ealham's tour trousers, which have been the only time we wore the tour trousers on the way flying into Dubai and flying out. So he gets them, sends them away to housekeeping and has them taken up.
Oh.
Yeah, but not just by an inch, by like about 4 or 5 inches.
4 or 5 inches. So he gets them taken back, puts the belt back in, puts the coins in the pocket. So we get to the morning of flying out, and Ealey goes to pull his trousers. He pulls them off. He's got, you know, they're like knickerbockers now. They're like, but it's just things like that with them. We talk back. No one says, "Oh, remember that great delivery we bowled to get like side out," or it's like all we talk about. It's like literally like a stag weekend. So we just talk about those things. The proclaimers, singing the proclaimers on the bus. They're the things that I remember. I don't remember. I could not tell you how many wickets I got or how many. I just remember those little side stories. When we went to the official function at the end, we were all singing songs, and all the other teams were looking over like, these guys are dead set clubbies, aren't they? So it's like it was quite funny to just play that. We played up to the role.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. You've excelled. You know, your memory started opening up as we started getting into it. Adam and Dougie, you know, you seem to remember a little bit more of the actual playing side of things. The skipper was slowly.
I haven't been punched as many times as him.
That's true. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me from all over the world. I'm sure people will thoroughly enjoy this. I'm sure a few of your old teammates from that tour will manage to have a watch, and they'll enjoy listening to some of these stories. Hang on for a few seconds more, but thank you very much for joining me, chaps.
Cheers, Shaky. Pleasure, mate.
Okay.